Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the morning's class from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 7, Text 35 through 37. So when it comes to the text themselves, I'll read 35 and 36, and then you can chant together in 37. So without further ado, we'll start the class, and I apologize for the delay. Those of you who were here earlier knew that my computer would not give me audio, so I had to reboot it. That's the reason for the delay. Hare Krishna. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gura Bhakta Vrinda. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 7, text 35 through 37. And prior to that, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namine, Namaste, Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha, Shri Gora Kadana Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Dishacharini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 7, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. Text 35. Sanyasa Kariya Prabhu Kaila Akashana, Jatika Palana, Jila Tarika Digana. Word for word. Sanyas, the sannyas order. Kariya, accepting. Prabhu, the Lord. Kaila, did. Akashana, attract. Yatika, all. Palanachila, fled. Takika Adigana, all persons, beginning with the logicians. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After accepting the sannyas order, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu attracted the attention of all those who had evaded him, beginning with the logicians. Text 36. Paduya Pashandi Karmi Ninda Kadijata Tara Asi Prabhupaya Haya Amvananta. Word for word. Paduya, students. Pashandi, material justice. Karma, fruitive actors. Nindaka Adi. Recording in progress. Critics. Yata, all. Hang on a second, I'm trying to multitask here. It's not the easiest thing, but I can do it. Okay. Tara de, Asi, coming. Prabhu, the Lord. Paya, lotus feet. Haya, became. Avanata, surrendered. Translation. Thus the students, infidels, fruity workers, and critics All came to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 37. And after this, you can repeat. Aparadaksha maila dubila prema jale deva keva idaibe prabhura prema mahajale aparadaksha maila dubila prema jale keva idaibe prabhura prema mahajale aparadaksha maila dubila prema jale Keva idaibe prabhura prema mahajale. Hare Krishna. Please chant.
अपराध क्षमेला दुबेला प्रेम जले केबाई दैबे प्रभुरा प्रेम महाजले हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Anyone
Hare
else?
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
अपराध क्षमयिला दुबिला प्रेम जले केवडाइब प्रभुर प्रेम महाजाले हरे
Hare Krishna. Word for word. Aparada, offense. Shamaila, excused. Dubila, merged into. Prema jale, in the ocean of love of Godhead. Kiva, who else? Idaibe will go away. Prabhura, the Lord's. Prema, loving. Mahajale, network. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Chaitanya excused them all, and they merged into an ocean of devotional service. For no one can escape the unique loving network of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was an ideal acharya. An acharya is an ideal teacher who knows the purport of the revealed scriptures, behaves exactly according to their injunctions, and teaches his students to adopt these principles also. As an ideal acharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu devised ways to capture all kinds of atheists and materialists. Every acharya has a specific means of propagating his spiritual movement with the aim of bringing men to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, the method of one acharya may be different from that of another, but the ultimate goal is never neglected. Srila Rupa Goswami recommends Tasmat Kinapi Upayena Mana Krishne Nivashayat Sarve Vidi Nishada Shil Etayo Eva Kinkara. An acharya should devise a means by which people may somehow or other come to Krishna consciousness. First, they should become Krishna conscious, and all the prescribed rules and regulations may later gradually be introduced. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we follow this policy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For example, since boys and girls in the Western countries freely intermingle, special concessions regarding their customs and habits are necessary to bring them to Krishna consciousness. The acharya must devise a means to bring them to devotional service. Therefore, although I am a sannyasi, I sometimes take part in getting boys and girls married, although in the history of sannyas, no sannyasi has personally taken part in marrying his disciples. Oma Genati Mirandasya, Gana Gana Shalakaya, Chakshu Umalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Tapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam. Nama Om Snupadaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini. Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Namo Mahavananyaya Krishna Prema Padayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurachache Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so beginning with text 35, English translation. After accepting the sannyas order, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu attracted the attention of all those who had evaded him, beginning with the logicians. Thus the infidels, this is text 36 now, thus the infidels, students, fruity workers, and all critics they all came to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 37. Lord Chaitanya excused them all, and they merged into the ocean of devotional service. For no one can escape the unique loving network of Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. So, the text talks about Lord Chaitanya accepting sannyas, and right after accepting sannyas, what he did. A little bit of back history as to why Lord Chaitanya accepted sannyas is also appropriate to discuss here. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, before he accepted sannyas, was trying to get the attention of people because that was one of his aims. He has an internal reason for coming and an external reason for coming. The internal reason had to do with Shrimati Radharani's feelings that Krishna wanted to understand and even dive into, have that same feelings for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who himself is Krishna. That was the internal reason. External reason was the reason why Advaita Acharya called him repeatedly to come to the world. He called on the Supreme Lord to come because so many people had deviated from real life and they needed help, very much so. And by the way, still help is needed because the number of people among the human beings on this earth, remember they're all kinds of living entities, those of us in human body, the overwhelming majority has not turned into Krishna consciousness yet. Srila Prabhupada said if we get to 18 or so percent of the world's population turning to Krishna consciousness, the whole planet will be inundated with Krishna consciousness, which means the other religions won't have as much of an effect. And that's less than 20% of the population. It's still possible to do it. There are people who've already reached that, religions who've already reached that. The Christian religion has already reached 20%, past 20% of the population. Yet, Srila Prabhupada said, even with that low percentage, under 20%, if we could turn people's minds to Krishna, so much benefit will come to this planet. And by the way, for us in Krishna consciousness, because Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma, they are controllers of the demigods. When people turn their attention, that percentage, if we're able to get that 18% of the world's population to turn to Krishna consciousness, then it means the demigods would cooperate too. And when the demigods cooperate, the problems of this planet get significantly reduced, especially problems involving the weather. The demigods control all aspects of the weather, every one of them. Sunshine, rain, temperatures, they're all controlled by demigods. And so if we're able to turn that percentage of people's minds towards Krishna consciousness, it does not mean every one of them even has to be initiated. Just accept Krishna rather than where they're going and the different names of the Lord that they are pronouncing and so on. Thinking that they are living a life of renunciation when in fact they are into sense gratification so much. Why did we say thinking that they live a life of renunciation? Well, for one, being the background of being a Christian before I came to Christian consciousness, I know Jesus said, "Love not this world, nor the things of this world. Love not this world, nor the things of the world." He was talking about vairagya, detachment. That's what he was talking about. So they have that in their spiritual book. And they're the ones that have the highest percentage of the population turning to Christianity. But they don't live like that. Jesus said, "Love not this world, but they sense gratification." So in Krishna consciousness, that statement has been fashioned into regulations, 4 regulations. No meat eating, no fish, no eggs, don't eat that, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. Those are all sense gratification things that people are involved in. So if we follow the regulated principles, then automatically we're not living according to the things of this world. Actually, the body is supposed to live with things that are just necessary for keeping the body together. We have to keep the body together so we can serve each other, we can serve the spiritual master, and then we can serve the deity. That is the main aim. And service helps us to develop love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all, and the devotees and everything. Service is what happens, makes you that way. That's why, whether we actually love Krishna or not, or haven't learned to love properly, or haven't developed full love for Krishna, we are asked to serve anyway. Because the service over a period of time will help reawaken the love for Krishna, Krishna Prema. And when we say Krishna, sometimes we say Krishna in a holistic way, meaning that Krishna means Krishna, his representative, the spiritual master, and also the devotees. All of that, the love form will be, for them, will be developed. So Lord Chaitanya, this external aim is what's being discussed in this particular text, or the 3 texts, all 3 of them. He accepted sannyas at first because people were not paying much attention to what he was talking about and what he was doing. At the time, and it's still true today, people pay greater attention to those who are in the sannyas ashram. And so Lord Chaitanya thought about it this way. How can I be more effective in turning the minds of people to Krishna consciousness? How can I be effective in doing that? And since people were paying attention to those in the sannyas ashram, then he decided he was going to take sannyas. So when he accepted sannyas, as the first text talked about, text 35, then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu attracted the attention of all those who had evaded him, meaning those who were not taking him seriously, those who had avoided him. Now he's a sannyasi, and by custom, by etiquette, people accept and listen to what sannyasis say. So he did that. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking sannyas was also his mercy, especially since many of his followers really became distraught. They became surprised and they became disappointed just for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asking that his hair be cut down and to wear a sika. His hair be cut. Nobody that knew Nimai at the time thought that he was called Nimai at the time, that the time would come where we would see Nimai that was bald-headed. That was very difficult for some of his close associates to even accept that. And even the barber who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked to cut his hair, even he got very disappointed. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is willing to or decides to do something for the benefit of the whole world, no one can stop him from doing that. He's, after all, the Supreme Personality. He's God himself. So now it's a sannyasi. So people have to listen to him. And that's how he began to turn their minds. Mm. He got their attention. If he got the attention, that means they were now ready to listen to him. Mm. Now, it says here that the logicians, beginning with the logicians, those who are into logic, trying to prove things by logic alone. Mm. Srila Prabhupada had gone back and forth debate with, or at least discussion, with another person. I only heard the audio of it, so I didn't see the person's face. But he actually debated Srila Prabhupada quite a bit, according to what the audio was, the audio recording was indicating. And they talked about logic at some point, part of the conversation. And it was a debate. He went back and forth and went back and forth with Srila Prabhupada. But in the end, what is beneficial to us also, the Srila Prabhupada statement that he made was, yes, logic cannot explain everything. That was what the other person who was debating Srila Prabhupada said. Srila Prabhupada agreed with him. He said, logic cannot explain everything, but as much logic that we require to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is there. Mm? So yes, there is some logic sometimes that can be borrowed for Krishna consciousness discussions, but it's not like everything is logical in Krishna consciousness. No. If everything was logical, then we would understand Supreme Personality of Godhead totally. Well, Supreme Personality of Godhead is unlimited. So how do we use logic to explain what's unlimited? Whatever we have here in the material world, sometimes we can use logic to get people to. Logic means people to understand Krishna consciousness. And logic in this case means you make particular statements and then you back it up with the conclusion from those statements of what Krishna consciousness also says that we should be about. To use logic to explain the same things, if a person's mind is into logic, explain the same things, but we don't really need, as devotees here, we don't really need logic. We need surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and obeying the orders of the spiritual master. But to help everyone, even the logicians were given some attention by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, enough for them to be convinced about Krishna consciousness and the way Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was presenting it. So at first, before he took sannyas, he wasn't getting as much attention. But after that, then he did. So in the next text, and that really supports, text 36 supports a very general statement that Srila Prabhupada has made. But the translation itself says, the students, infidels, fruity workers, and critics all came to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. That is a large population of the people, large percentage of the people, if not all of them. Students came, people who didn't believe in God, they came, and people who are working just to try to make money, fruity workers, so that they can enjoy the fruits of their labor, they came, and even critics, they also came to surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. So the logicians got convinced, and then the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu convinced the students, those who didn't believe in God, those who are into sense gratification, their own senses, and those who were critics. They critique everything. They all came to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. So what is Krishna consciousness for? Krishna consciousness is open for everyone. That is Srila Prabhupada's statement. Krishna consciousness is open for everyone. We should never think that it is important to go anywhere else. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvara Parama Krishna, He is the Supreme Lord. So if we go to Krishna consciousness, if we stay for those within Krishna consciousness, or if we bring others to Krishna consciousness, we have brought them to the highest understanding of what life is about. That's what Krishna consciousness teaches. And if we live by that, then we're very fortunate. Sometimes devotees tend not to see the fortune that we have, because the whole about idea of Krishna consciousness is like having a savings account, and you put money in the savings account on a regular basis, whether weekly, monthly, whatever. Put money into that, and sometimes a little bit of it is used. Only when it's necessary, it's used. But for the most part, the money is there. And because you're depositing, it's growing, it's growing. But for the most part, we don't live like we're very, very, very wealthy, only because that spiritual credit has not been used yet. Very little is used. And very little means when we need protection, the Lord gives us protection. But all of that's there. So later, then we can cash in to purchase the very thing that gives us the greatest freedom and the greatest happiness. Going back to Godhead. That is what our spiritual savings account is for. When that time comes, when we leave this, or we are supposed to leave this body, then that savings account becomes very, 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 very important, very necessary for us. Because without that savings account, we won't earn the mercy of Guru or earn the mercy of Krishna. And if we don't earn the mercy of Krishna, Srimati Radharani, we can't go back to the spiritual world for that particular life, after that lifetime, this one that we're in. So when we are living the way we're living, when we are chanting, yes, there is immediate satisfaction that comes. But it's not like the way those who live in the spiritual world, relate to Krishna. They are not saving for a day that they would withdraw their savings. They are living the life, the life that is most satisfying. We are trying to get to that position, so we need to deposit. So Krishna consciousness, the way Lord Chaitanya approached it, he approached it in a very, very wonderful way, very enjoyable way. Chant the holy name of the Lord. Dance in the streets, and also in the temples, and take Krishna Prasadam. So when all of these people came, the way it was described in this text that we just read, students, infidels, fruity workers, critics, all people, those who are already with Lord Chaitanya, they invited all other people they came in Lord Chaitanya's own words, as a sannyasi convinced them, including those who are into logic, to come. Now, Lord Chaitanya knew they had all been in many ways offensive. Some of them criticized Lord Chaitanya, so that was already an offense. But the Lord excused all of them. And with his attractiveness, he was very, very, very handsome and tall. And his words, this is words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, although those who were not his close associates did not know that he was the Lord himself. But he came and excused all of these people after he took sannyas. And then, because his chanting and dancing was so, it just was so effective, that people were just merged into doing the same things. Sometimes, a few times when we go to Harinam in town, the music and the chanting and the enthusiasm in the faces of the devotees would attract some people who are just watching to come be a part of it. And they may not dance the way Srila Prabhupada taught us to dance, but it doesn't matter. They just join in. And even some of the devotees, I know a few brahmacharis that go out all around the world and they chant in the streets, in the cities. And when people get interested, they would encourage them, chant. And they break the mantra up into 2 words at a time. Hare Krishna. Then they repeat Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. They get more excited. Hmm? The people get more excited. This is the people in the streets. Sometimes they are outside restaurants. They're different places. I know about that because some people would, some of the devotees would video it and put it on YouTube. So you go to so many places. Just type Harinam, you will see on YouTube so many videos, short videos of people. And of course, the Ratiyatra is also very, very attractive to those who come watch it, even though they may not understand what's going on. But the Lord Jagannath gives them the mercy anyway, just for coming around. Mm. So in the purport, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada says, was an ideal acharya. He was ideal in all respects because he came to teach how to be a devotee. So he went through all of the ways in which a devotee could experience this. In other words, as a child and what he did, and later on as he grew up, what happened, and then he basically did some teaching, and he also gave mercy. When the Lord comes, he always is giving mercy to those who are demonic or in action or in thinking. So even when he was a teenager, he defeated some proud people, Keshava Kashmir being one of them. He got defeated by Lord Chaitanya when he was called Nimai at the time. Lord Chaitanya was his sannyas name. So Nimai at the time defeated this big, proud Keshava Kashmiri, big pundit who was going around India at the time and defeating one place or another where the scholars were. He was defeating them. But Lord Chaitanya, he came to Navadvip and Lord Chaitanya defeated him, debated him and defeated him. So then, of course, as he grew up, then his associates were always with him. Some of them were in different situations. Ramananda Rai, governor, he left and he came to him. Ramananda Rai was Vishaka. Swarup Damodar, who was Lalita in Krishna Lila, they all joined him later on. Raghunath Das Goswami, he left his very wealthy situation because he had a father and an uncle who were very rich. They were real estate owners and land owners. He left to come join him. So the entire thing was planned such that those who left the spiritual world to come with Krishna, they were born in different situations. And when it was necessary for them to gather together, they all came. So gopis, manjaris, they all came. But good many of them in male bodies because in Charitamrita, in the plans for Lord Chaitanya, when he took sannyas, usually those who are closest to him are supposed to be male-bodied people. So that's why those who from spiritual world came, a good many of them came in male bodies. Again, it was the way things had been set up. There's nothing to slight women at all. Lord Chaitanya's mom was very close to his mother, very much so. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was an ideal acharya. And what is an acharya? Acharya preaches Krishna consciousness, but also lives by it. So acharya is a show and tell, as in American language. They talk about Krishna, but they also show by the way they live their lives. That is required even now. of spiritual masters so that they can be an acharya. So the ideal acharya, the topmost acharya was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he came up with all kinds of ways to capture atheists and materialists, those who didn't believe in God and those who thought that the material world would give them everything that they want. Hmm? So Srila Prabhupada explains that there are different ways of acharyas to attract different people who come to that particular acharya. So some acharyas or some spiritual masters may have a method that they stress more, and others may have a different method that they stress, but the ultimate goal is to get people to become Krishna conscious. That is always the aim for all of them. So as Srila Rupa Goswami explains or recommends, every acharya should devise a means by which people may somehow or other come to Krishna consciousness. We should devise means. There are acharyas now, there are spiritual masters in our movement, Krishna consciousness movement, who stress to their disciples, you should do book distribution. But Shishika Prabhu, for one, tries to very much get his disciples to take book distribution seriously, because before he became a spiritual master, that was his main service to Srila Prabhupada, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So then he tried to get his disciples to do the same. So all of them know that they should give it a try to distribute books. And every book that goes out is to help to get to this, hopefully, in this lifetime for many of us, to get this world, the majority, the percentage that Srila Prabhupada put it, aiming for 18%, change, their minds change into Krishna consciousness. So we got work to do, and the Lord will help us. Why? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was doing that, and trying to get people interested. So first they should become Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada says their charges should make them become Krishna conscious. That is, accepting Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead and obeying Krishna's instructions. And book distribution is one of the ways to get people to become Krishna conscious. And lectures that are convincing also. And it's not difficult to convince in lectures. Just Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually recommends that you just repeat what he said. Repeat what Krishna has said. Don't dilute it with any other things. The only thing you can do is give examples, but they should support what is being talked about, has been talked about already by Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees. So first, accepting Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. Then chanting Krishna's name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So then other prescribed rules and regulations may later be gradually introduced because, and this is for all of us to understand, and also for some of us to be a little bit more relaxed about it, not mentally relaxed about it. So here's the process. First, you accept Krishna, and then we also, by accepting Krishna, the heart begins to open slowly. And then when we begin to realize from the preaching that the prescribed rules and regulations are actually to our advantage to live that way, then the person may gradually start living in that way based on the regulative principles. And it starts in some, for practically everybody, some of the regulative principles will be immediately embarked on. The person may start with that. And some of the regulative principles may take some time to change to get to. Even for some people, if there's a very strong attraction to a particular sense of gratification, then to give it up may take years. We're not talking about weeks or months. We may even take years. And it's also a two-stage process where even if the person is trying to give up that sense gratification, whatever, maybe they were addicted to it. it would start with having to physically give it up. Where in fact the mind, even if they're physically giving it up, the mind is still latched on to that type of sense gratification. But we have to stop, and we also have to stop thinking about that, the sense gratification. So that's why it doesn't take a short time to do it, especially to remove it out of our minds. We have to be convinced that it is actually better for us to obey the regulated principles. So the regulated principles is never to be imposed on a new person that has come. Never to be imposed on that. And that's the understanding that we all have to have. A new person should be introduced to the chanting of the holy name and introduced, convinced, to made convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The God that we're looking for, a person that comes to Krishna consciousness would get to see the paintings of a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they'll get to see for the first time. And for the most people, it's like that. For the first time, what he looks like. Many other religions talk about God, but they don't know what he looks like. When you come to Krishna consciousness, you will see a drawing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You will also hear about, the new person will hear about Srimati Radharani. And some people have in minds, well, God is, from what we understand, he's male, and I'm in a female body. What about women? Some people think that way now. But Srimati Radharani is the reason why women don't need to think in terms of this and that. Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna are one. Are one. For their pastimes, they split themselves into two. And for Lord Chaitanya, they came together, Radha and Krishna. So it's not a gender situation. That gender situation is covered. Women should never feel that they're different from the male and male. No, it's not a whole male. Radha and Krishna. Like that. So Srila Prabhupada says the reason we spend time on it also is that Srila Prabhupada made one important statement. He says, in our Krishna consciousness movement, we follow this policy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The policy means convince people the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 1, also it says that. The God we're all looking for, that is Krishna. So the policy means tell people Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, spend time to convince them about that. And then the little rules and regulations, they may slowly be introduced. Prabhupada stressed, gradually introduced. So there are those who are in Krishna consciousness now, and they're going through the process of gradually coming to life where the regulated principles, all four of them, are obeyed. It is not to be done overnight. And nobody should feel guilty that they haven't gotten to all four of them yet. No, it is a process. It takes time. And for many devotees, it takes years to get physically obeying the regulated principles and mentally also obeying the regulated principles. For many devotees, it takes years, not months, not weeks, and not just a few days. No. The Acharya must devise a means to bring people to devotional service. That's done all around this camp. And sometimes the rules may be broken. The rules for sannyasis may be broken. Srila Prabhupada knew. And this is not for us, but it still was important because Srila Prabhupada is explaining his own position. He says the rules may be broken simply because sannyasis are not supposed to take part in marriages. Or be the main person marrying disciples together. No. But he had to do it because here in America, when he started, he got so much help from these people who didn't know about Krishna consciousness. And then later on, they became his disciples, his followers. But there culture, the Kali Yuga type culture that they were involved in, had to be given up. But again, since we've talked about it, it always had to be done slowly. So Srila Prabhupada strategically broke some rules, some etiquette, just to make sure that the disciples were comfortable. Mm. So he conducted the marriage ceremony. Who was going to do it anyway? Nobody knew any mantras. There were no priests around, so Srila Prabhupada actually did it. He was the priest who got the devotees married after they took initiation from him. Mm. So in Bhagavatam, chapter 1, and I know what time it is now. I apologize starting a little late, but just one reference here. Mm. Bhagavatam 1, Canto 1, that is, chapter 5, text 21. Sri Prabhupada is saying, in situations, some situations are very interesting, but they also teach us what we should be about and why we should be about that. Narada Muni, Narada Rishi, he was a spiritual master for Srila Vyasadeva. And Srila Vyasadeva is an avatar of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Srila Vyasadeva actually did not need to be dependent on a spiritual master because, in essence, he was the one that was writing the Shastra for everybody. Hmm. But because he's doing the work of an acharya teaching, but also showing the example in his own life, he also taught us that one has to have a spiritual master. Krishna said it himself. Hmm. Even if one be God himself, he still has to have a spiritual master. That's why Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Ram, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are all incarnations of the Supreme Personality of God. The Supreme Lord is the source of all incarnations, but they all accepted formal spiritual masters. Hmm? Even though by their transcendental nature, they were all aware of everything. Hmm? And Krishna was like even the source of everything, but still, he took initiation from a living spiritual master. So don't ever be deceived by anybody telling you that, oh, it's okay, you don't have to get initiation. That is a statement that is very, 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 not only bad, but it is actually a statement of sabotage. If anybody tells you don't get initiation, they're actually sabotaging your life. One goes back to the spiritual world by the help of the spiritual master. And the spiritual master helping him means that there has to be the initiation first. The disciple, that particular devotee, accepting that spiritual master as the one that's going to guide him back to the spiritual world. Spiritual master also made a contract with the spiritual world that he is going to guide that particular disciple back to the spiritual world. And so spiritual master and discipleship involves having to get formally initiated. Nobody, I'll say it for the last time, but emphatically, nobody, if anybody hears that getting initiation is not necessary, you have been told something that is untrue and a sabotaging statement for your own spiritual life. Don't ever accept it. Don't ever accept it. It is the mercy of the spiritual master that one is benedicted with the mercy of Krishna. Yashat Prashad Bhagavat Prashadu Yashat Prashad Nagatiku Kutopi. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. So we should not be unfaithful to the spiritual master. It's very important. And that's why Lord Chaitanya did what he did. Got to the sannyas ashram, but he invited people because when the sannyasi, people would listen to him at that time, they were paying attention to what sannyasis had to say. So Lord Chaitanya gave everybody that mercy by he himself becoming an acharya like that and taking sannyas and teaching that way. So we learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. We inquire from the spiritual master and we also serve the spiritual master because he's a self-realized soul and he can impart knowledge to us. Krishna reveals the truth to the spiritual master and from them we learn how to grow. So We are fortunate. We may not see that because we are depositing into our savings bank account, so we're not using so much of it. But we're very fortunate. If only we knew what's waiting for us after we leave this body, we will be excited every single day. All the problems we have will be gone. Back in the spiritual world, it is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. As Brihad Bhagavatamrita explains. So we'll stop here. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas in order to get everybody's attention to Krishna consciousness so he could help us to go back home. As Srila Prabhupada also, an Acharya, is helping us to go back home by what he has left for us. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you, and again apologize for how the rough start of this one due to computer issues. This is the time to unmute yourself if you have any question. If you have any comment that you want to make, you can do that also. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Okay, I don't hear any questions or comments. I know there's some acknowledgments that's there. That's true. Thank you very much for that. So we will stop here then. And this is, well, Tuesday, and we're going on. Every day is for Krishna. Every day. Please start your day like that. Pray that Krishna handles your day for you based on what he would like to see happen. That is one of the smartest prayers that every day you have to pray in the morning. Then what happens is that everything we do, whether it seems to be the right one, it doesn't seem to work very well, Krishna has a plan behind everything that happens. Positive or even seemingly a reversal. Even that is all based on his plans. But we have to ask for that situation. Please handle my day as you see fit. Like that, pray to the Lord. Jai. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. Jai. Hare Krishna. Jai.